Hi students, today I'll explain David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage, which is also known as theory of comparative cost advantage. Before going into the theory, I'll explain some of the assumptions given by David Ricardo. According to him, it's a 2 by 2 model. That means there will be only two countries and those two countries will only be producing two commodities. And cost of production is related to labor only. It's because there is only one factor of production. According to him, labor is the only factor of production. They use natural resources except labor. So, and there will be free trade. So there will not be any quantitative or qualitative restrictions between countries. So free trade will be there, and there will not be any monetary transaction. So there will only be barter system. So according to theory, there will only be two commodities and there will be two countries. Those two countries will exchange the commodities produced by them. So there will not be any monetary transactions. So these are the basic assumptions. We'll go to the theory. So before going to the theory or uh, to understand the theory, we have to understand the table. So there are two countries. Two countries are given as one is England and another one is Portugal, and those two countries will produce wine and cloth. And in the table, there are some numbers given like 120, 80, and 190. These are the numbers related to the labor hours required to produce the commodities. For example, we can see here England need 120 hours of labor to produce 1 unit of wine and 100 unit of labor to produce 1 unit of cloth. The same way, Portugal will need 80 hours of labor to produce 1 unit of wine and 90 hours of labor to produce 1 unit of cloth. So there is no absolute advantage for any country. Sorry, there is an absolute advantage for Portugal, but England has no advantage. We can see here England don't have any advantage in the production. In the production of both the commodities, Portugal has an advantage because we can see here Portugal need 80 hours of labor to produce 1 unit of wine, and to produce 1 unit of wine England need 120 hours of labor. So here we can see that Portugal has an advantage. If we go to the production of cloth, Portugal need only 90 hours of labor and England need 100 hours of labor. So when we compare this in the production of both the commodities, Portugal has an absolute advantage. So there is a problem lies here. Then which is the commodity then England can produce? So at this situation, the theory of comparative advantage arrives. So when we compare, Portugal has more advantage in the production of wine. So Portugal will choose wine, and now England can produce cloth. So in this way, both the countries can produce a particular commodity and export it to another country. So we can check the same thing with the help of a graph here. So in x-axis we have taken cloth, and y-axis we have taken wine, and there is two production possibility curves. This is related to England and this is Portugal's production possibility curve. Now we can see the same thing which we have seen in the table also. England require 120 hours of labor to produce wine and 100 hours of labor to produce cloth. Portugal need only 80 hours of labor to produce wine and 90 hours of labor to produce cloth. In the same way, in both the commodities, in the production of both the commodities, Portugal has an advantage. Still, trade happens. How trade happens? Trade happens in the sense that Portugal will choose a commodity between wine and cloth. So now which one Portugal will choose? And it is easy. Portugal will choose wine because comparatively it has more advantage in the production of wine because it needs only 80 hours of labor. So now England left with no choice. England has to choose cloth. So by using 100 hours of labor, England can produce cloth. So now both the countries can produce a particular commodity. Now at the end, to conclude, in the theory, David Ricardo has explained that Portugal now produce wine by using all its resources and labor. England will produce cloth by using all its resources and labor. Now, with regard to the trade, Portugal will export wine to England, and England will export cloth to Portugal. So, in this way, trade will be beneficial for both the countries. Both the countries can produce a particular commodity and trade with another country. So this is the theory of comparative advantage. Thank you.